But I lived somehow. Took a lot of damage.
We think he was still doing like the animation from being caught on fire, and so that's why. Like,
oh yeah.
But I mean, it was like a split second.
I should have got my head cut off.
He should be dead. Like it.
That rules. But you got the key?
Yeah.
Badass.
Let me in. Let me in.
Not by the hair of your chin chin chin.
What did Melinda want? To say she loves you?
Yeah, and they're going to Town Pump.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice place where all dreams
Yes. This is local bar, guys, where people do karaoke and whatnot.
Karaoke.
My most drunken nights have always ended there. So.
Really?
Besides, like,
as long as it's not Midtown.
Yeah, Midtown's pretty bad too. You're right.
Yeah. It can be.
All my most drunken nights end up with me in bed and then waking up the next morning with chips all over, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
When did I eat all these chips? I don't think I even had any.
Yes.
Where'd I get them?
Chips. Oh, there's nothing better than chips when you're fucking drunk, man.
Dude,
chips.
amen.
Dude, I'm all about burgers when I'm drinking.
Yeah, burgers are
great
good too.
I can
Absolutely.
stuff down
Anything,
a
as long as
burgers.
it's salty or not sweet. You don't want something sweet.
No. Alright, the next ghost story. Losing yourself in China. So when I was barely 20 years old, I was traveling with a small group of people through China, and we were spending about 2 months in Qinghai province. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Uh-oh. What the hell is going on here? Alright, to be continued. While we deal with these villagers. Oh, they are set up for that grenade. Look at that fucking fortress. Why don't I remember this part?
This is a bitch.
Is this still on the right path?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's why.
We didn't go all the way back, I guess.
God. Shit, it's
flanking me,
fortified.
God, I'm sick of those.
Oh, no kidding, dude. There you go. That's like perfect. They were all grouped up together, you know?
Are you serious?
Ah, that sucks.
It's okay. I was given the grace of God.
Yeah.
A few minutes ago, I'll take that. Only the video game gods could have saved me.
If that's a trade you'll make.
Yep.
Oh man, they're running fast up there.
Fuck off.
Look, he knocked his pitchfork out of his hand.
Fuck off.
God.
Kidding me.
It is just throwing those at us right now. There we go. That is such a satisfying noise.
I like how they introduced more Plagas later, but there's no Plagas more destructive than the first one they
And that
introduced.
first one.
That one is a fucking bitch.
It's the most aggressive.
And the longest reach.
Absolutely.
And it can hit you twice in a row.
Because the other ones just kind of lumber at you. And I mean, they're one-hit kills, most of the other ones. But since they're slower and they have to, like, gear up for that big attack, you know?
Well, a game like this, like, it doesn't matter even how dangerous it necessarily is. The faster it is, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah.
So the slow ones, you have time to think and be like, oh, I can get around this guy, and stuff like that.
Good call. All right, continuing our story. And this used to be part of Tibet. It says our destination, sorry, they had a typo there, was a specific town to teach English. I don't know. It sounds like Fatal Frame, though. And we've been stopping often in towns and small cities along the way. One day we arrived in a rural town, very small, nothing unusual. We spent only a couple days there, shopping for food at the markets and walking around to see the sights, although there weren't many. This was in the dead of winter in February, and all the grass on the hills and plains around the town were dead and brown. The overall feeling was that of the normal kind of bleakness that any rural place has in the winter. At this time in my life, things were going amazingly, extraordinarily well for me, and I say that because my teenagehood had been rather darkly overcast. But the overwhelming good luck of being able to travel and these close friends I'd made in the last year had more than changed my life or my feelings and attitude toward life. It was like I was a whole new person. I was ecstatic to be in Tibet and went to sleep with a smile on my face every night. On our second day staying in this small town, I woke up feeling a little odd. Not bad, just odd, and my normal thoughts and feelings had been turned down low, like on a dial. We'd all decided to go for a walk on the hills right behind the town. There's a small summit with a pile of rocks and some paper flags, to be honest. They were like little altars. Like these on every hill, but it gave us something to do. As we hiked up the hills behind the town, I started feeling stranger and stranger. I wasn't scared and I didn't feel angry or any strong emotion. In fact, it was like emotion was trickling out of me somehow, and I was getting blanker and blanker, emptier and emptier. My mind started feeling a little hazy, and more I felt like I simply didn't care about anything.
Stop smoking pot, you stupid hippie.
A small and rapidly dwindling part of myself started to panic and knew that something bad was happening, but it was like my own inner voice was slowly getting quieter and quieter. I remember we reached the little summit, and I simply sank to the ground next to the pile of rocks. Without meaning to, I started tuning out the voices around me and fixed all my attention on the little pebbles in the dirt. I began tapping one against the other repeatedly. You know the kind of horror that is the opposite of feeling scared or feeling anything at all? The kind of vacuous hideousness of a fly buzzing against a closed window for hours on end in an empty room? That's what was filling my mind. It was demonic in its meaninglessness. I touched my face and felt I was grinning at nothing. Through all the emptiness, a thought floated to the forefront of my mind. You should just die. At first it sounded totally reasonable, but something in me fought it, and I was momentarily troubled. Right then, my group started to walk down from the hill, and I followed. The further we walked, the more normal I felt, until we left the town that afternoon, and I was totally freaked out. When another girl, Hannah, mentioned in an odd offhand way that she felt very strange and depressed while staying there, I told her I'd felt the same. When the group leader mentioned that a local had told him that the town had been plagued with the rash of young women under 25 committing suicide, Hannah and I went white.
Damn, that's pretty intense.
I don't know what to... You say horse shit?
Yeah.
Tell me more, Dill.
I have a problem with scary stories that involve two people having the experience, particularly two women. I feel a lot of people are able to bounce one small tidbit that may have been frightening off each other to amp each other up and feel like something had happened that did not happen. And I've seen people do that. Like, I've actually been in the room with people.
Welcome.
Like, I get a circle about something so I can make you the same way.
Yeah, you just kind of... You build it up between the two of you until you kind of create a memory or a feeling of the time that you were in that wasn't necessarily there. There may have been an inkling in the beginning as to why you were feeling, or something like that, but this just got way blown out of proportion over time as they talk about it. Yeah, I want to buy something that was written by one person who's never told it to anybody else. I would buy that. I'd be more ready to buy that.
Yeah.
I see what you're talking about. Where, like, one person is like, "Oh yeah, that felt like this and this." I mean, like, did you feel that? And the other person being like, "Yeah, I think I remember feeling that way too."
Yeah.
Like, they start creating this false memory.
Yes, I think I remember feeling that way too.
What are you selling?
That's perfect.
What are you buying?
All right, here we go. Here's another one. What the dog knew. In my old apartment, my dog would on occasion look down the hallway towards the bedroom from the living room and growl for no apparent reason. Also on occasion, when I was sleeping in the bedroom, she at the foot of the bed, I would wake up with her staring intently at the door and growling. She's a big girl, 140 pounds, a Great Dane. It's a Catahoula and slobber. So I'm there for a couple hours of this thinking, okay, my dog has a good imagination. Wrong. One night I woke up due to not my dog growling, but barking for all she was worth. And not at the door, she was barking straight at me. I opened my eyes pretty much immediately, and there was a blur of light leaning over me, very close, certainly less than 6 inches away from my face. It was not distinguishable as a person. It more resembled a person-sized version of a colorful nebula you might see a picture of in a science magazine.
When you're like kind of half asleep, that happens.
Wait, say that?
We'll get to it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I remember that, dude.
3-dimensional in all. I immediately got the distinct impression that this thing had been watching me sleep, for God knows how long and how many times before. For all the clarity of that distinct feeling, I had no sense of what it wanted. Oh, pause. Village's last defense.
I'm going to try to make, every time you find a story, I'm going to try to find a note.
Yes, alright. I clearly underestimated the American agent's capability. He's still alive. I thought that we would wait until the egg hatched, but at this rate, he could destroy the whole village before it does. We must take care of this nuisance. We shall change our priorities. For the time being, we will cease our hunt for Luis and ambush the two Americans. There is a building used to enlighten betrayers just beyond the point where you get off the lift. It's a perfect place for ambushing them. If all else fails, they would still need to face me in order to get past the last gate that leads out of the village, for only before my sight will the gate open. Unless we snatch your eyeballs out of your fucking head.
I should have just taken his head instead of the eyes.
Yes.
How about Medusa's head?
Yes.
Except by the beard. Except for the hair.
Alright, back to the story here.
Or just like a basketball.
Yeah.
Alright. I immediately got the distinct impression that this thing had been watching me sleep, for God knows how long and how many times before. For all the clarity of that distinct feeling, I had no sense of what it wanted, whether it was malevolent or just curious. I flipped right the fuck out, jumped backwards to the other side of the bed, too terrified to scream, and that blur of light receded and disappeared over the course of about 3 seconds. My dog was going absolutely ape. So shortly thereafter, I asked the building manager if anybody had ever died there. She investigated that and came back to me a couple of weeks later with a yes. A woman had died of a drug overdose in that apartment in 1995, so 12 years earlier, shortly after having her child removed from her custody because of her addiction problems. My dog did still growl at the hallway from time to time, but I never saw it again. I moved out about a year later. I had other encounters, but this thing was literally inches from my face, watching me sleep. Getting shivers now just writing about it.
So there's a phenomena.
Uh-huh.
Depicted, and we talked about this last time we tried to play Resident Evil, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where Marcus said he had a dream where the shadowy figure was around his bed. I don't remember what the whole thing is, but there's a phenomenon depicted in a painting by Fussley or something, a Swiss painter, called The Nightmare, and it's that.
Yeah, Nightmare.
Yeah, it's depicting the phenomena where, and I know lots of people who've had this. My old roommate Marty told me a lot about it. Eric has told me his version of it. Alejandro's told me his version. I've heard Marcus's. I have my own. And it's a phenomenon where you're still in sleep paralysis, yet you're able to obtain a slight bit of consciousness of where you're at, and that you're kind of sleeping, but you're still able to have a lucid dream, if you will. And in the past, people thought of it as a demon. And then it's since become ghosts, and even may explain alien abduction stories. It's a feeling of extreme discomfort, often, as with my roommate Marty and myself a couple times, accompanied by a strange figure in your room watching you. And Marty said that his instinct was whenever he had these, and he would try to shake himself awake, which I do, is he all he could remember is there's a strange girl in his room, and all he wanted to do was throw something at her. And I used to have same ones with people in my room and shit like that too. And it's usually like a kind of a ghostly thing, usually a kid. You know, it's a real phenomenon. People actually have that happen to them, and I think it's completely psychologically explainable how that could be taken as some kind of paranormal activity.
Shit, that is creepy.
And maybe it is paranormal activity. I'm not saying, I'm not dissing it. Maybe that phenomenon is paranormal
but there's so
activity.
many there's so many unrelated shared experiences.
That seems to be
possible.
something in your brain.
Well, on that, do you guys believe in that possibility?
I do.
You do?
I'm incredibly open to the idea.
No.
Okay, both of you, if you don't mind, let me know where you're coming from on that.
Crap.
Shotgun time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Fuck you.
there it is.
Nice.
That was a good call.
It's like, blow that shit up
You're
midair.
alive.
It detonated right above them.
And it's fucking face.
Yeah.
It's okay, that chainsaw should have taken my head off. For the rest of the game.
Can you do me a huge favor, Marcus?
Yeah.
you open that door so Zuzu doesn't feel locked in there? I'm so sorry, bud. I think so. I don't know why that door's closed even. It's probably a fucking ghost.
Yeah. A new creepy story get online.
Shit. Thank you. Yeah, oh yeah, there they are.
Both of them in there. Hey, puppies.
Didn't want them freaking out. Okay, so Marcus, what leads you to the possibility that of paranormal activity? To use that phrase.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm actually, you know, like I'm actually in pretty. It's weird because you know I like to swing both ways. I'm like, you know, yeah.
So just take that audio clip of Marcus. I like to swing both ways.
Unlike the spirituality and science, they don't necessarily disprove each other. They can exist within the same room together at all times. I think because I'm actually under the impression of like the experience he's talking about, I've experienced myself. I think there's a lot of psychological stuff to that versus there being a paranormal aspect to that. But to me, that doesn't like discount paranormal stuff. And at the same time, I don't know. You're getting just in like a really deep, you know, thing for me. It's just like science and spirituality are not necessarily exclusive from one another. It's what my bottom line. However, this experience I can see being much more psychological. That makes the absolute most sense to me.
And I'm with you there. That's regarding that person's particular situation.
What are you buying?
But no, that's a great argument. Dylan, what about you?
Well, I mean, by definition, if science and paranormal happening can go hand in hand, and the paranormal happening is not paranormal, it's science.
That's true.
You know, I believe that there are things that we can't explain and that we may never understand completely, a lot of which to do with time, but transcending death and being a ghost is very... I don't believe in that, or having any kind of... I don't think though your brain may in some way be able